And welcome everybody. Robert Aducci here, and I have Tajo Fittkau, the line developer for the English Dark Eye books, and we're here to talk about Dark Eye. So welcome, Tajo.
Hello, thank you. Welcome to Ulysses Online Con. And I want to talk a little bit about the Dark Eye, what we did in the recent times, and what you can expect in the near future. With the pandemic, as everyone knows, I mean, people might have read our blog around the production issues that we're having and so on. Everything is constantly changing. So currently, the Gods of Aventura crowdfunding, today we were finally able to give the Theater Nights 4, 5, and 6 books out as PDFs.
Nice.
There is one more book, one more adventure that I know you're waiting for, which is the Three Colors of Snow, the heroic work. Or it's not a heroic work, it's a original Kaiser Raoul convent adventure. So it's not called heroic work. But this one is also finished, but didn't get the final approval this Friday. So it should come next week. So it's basically finished. It just needs to get one gloss over and get the final approval. So that should come out too very soon. And and then we basically wait on your feedback to see if you find anything in there that we can fix before we send it to print. And then everything that needs to go into print should be ready to go to the printers. But then if you want to know more, please read the long article written by Markus Plutz on the blog. It's also available in English about the current situations around producing during a pandemic and also transporting and sending stuff out, why we cannot say at the moment anywhere when it will arrive with us, when we'll be able to deliver it. We have our we have our good thoughts to get this thing through, but then may the gods be with us for this, and then get it. So I also want to thank at this point my group of faithful helpers of the 12. That's a small group of people who are very dedicated to the Dark Eye and who are actually helping a lot in the background, going through these books when I'm getting them from translation, when I'm getting through the edit process, and making sure that while I go through these books, I miss stuff. And in total, I think for the whole of Gods of Aventura part, they were giving me about 500 things to correct or to improve through these books.
Wow.
And so without them, the quality, I wouldn't be able to. I would still be sitting on trying to fix stuff in there. So it's a great help, and I really want to thank them for their work they put them in, and everything and improvements that they gave out. So, for example, things that are hard to understand for the English-speaking audience that don't have access to all the German books, we added some small parts to the adventures, some little remarks that might give you some hint why something is called a hedgehog letter, and that's. You will read in one of the books. So,
Nice.
That is. I think this is the most I can say about Gods of Aventura at the moment. The cards are one of the things that also need to be printed. You will get those PDFs also pretty soon, most likely not next week, but then it should be. I was told before the end of April, but things can shift a little bit there, but it's basically the cards. They are basically the same text as in the rulebook, and they were just copied over basically. So there shouldn't be any more larger mistakes in there, but that should go out when they are having. So, but then in the recent days, we talked a lot about what we are doing, how we're going on with the Dark Eye, and how we are proceeding in the current times. Our next project that was planned was a beginner's box. And the beginner's box is a great tool. It is a really great product. In Germany, it's very successful. They just released a second box that's basically an expansion to the original one, and it's a really good. I have one of this boxes, and I think it's one of the best entries into role-playing games. Not only into the Dark Eye, but into role-playing games, because it's taking you from the point you're a board game player, and it's taking you through your first session. You can just sit down without any prep work and just go through the first adventure and just experience the world and go into this game. It's really greatly done how they did it. The problem is at the moment, no one sits down at any tables. This book looks great, and if you take it to your hand, you really it shows something nice. So you need to get it to shelves in stores, but this is all very hard at this time, and there are no conventions that you can really show this off and basically show people what kind of good product you have there. So a decision was made that we will not do the beginner's box at this time, and that while that is a very sad thing, it will not be going into print. We will focus more, due to the situation that we have and everyone playing online now and getting more comfortable also with online playing. Mm-hmm. So we don't think it will really go away afterwards. We also want to see that we are, as Timothy already said during the keynote, we want to become stronger and a very strong player inside of the virtual tabletop playing environment and in the digital publishing there. So while I cannot say anything really about outside the beginner's box, that will be what we are planning in the digital field. We already, the Foundry rule set for the Dark Eye has been released some weeks ago. The core rulebook is theoretically out. You can buy it when you're in Germany because there's still problems with our store, but I'm told these problems are getting solved. So next week, possibly, you will be able to buy the core rules for the Dark Eye. The other books that are already out, Magic 1 and Gods of Aventuria, they are on the list, and also Bestiary and Armory, they are on the list to also get translated into these systems and then be released for Foundry. When it comes to other VTT platforms, we are working on that. Foundry was just the easiest to implement, and it's really, we're working with a third party there, and it's very good to implement them. I did a stream during the GaryCon, Dreieichcon crossover, using this for the first time. Mm-hmm. While the stream, due to some technical difficulties, wasn't that great on a lot of things, the tool really shines and can be really great tool to use to play it, and the implementation of the Dark Eye in it is very good. It makes it very easy to play, also very fast to play. Mm-hmm. And when you get used to it, it flows really good. The people who work on this are thinking about the right things and are implementing the right things there. So we are working with them and trying to get a lot of things. One of our priorities is naturally to get the beginner's box in there. Mm-hmm. And that will be, so the release of the beginner's box will be digital. We don't know through what channels we will promote it. We will not know what will be the situation, how it will come out, and so on. That is something that is currently still things. We only know basically of the decision that we are not producing the beginner's box in physical form at this point in time for 3 days now. So next week we will have some sessions to basically talk about what can we do to get products to the people who are playing the Dark Eye in this current time where making physical products is a little bit harder. So yeah, that is basically, so we will focus more on the digital side of things, and then see how we can also use it as a chance to improve things, or to possibly also have releases that are not always bound to a crowdfunding. But these are all things that we need to develop and that we need to figure out in the next weeks. So yeah, there's a lot of plan on that, a lot of ideas in those areas. But there will be we will be having more the direct paths where we are going there. That is also something when you have feedback, things like, now we're playing with Foundry, now we're playing with Roll20. What are the things that you really think, well, that's I really want to get there? That's something when you write to feedback@ulyssesbilo.com, we will get those things and we'll read these emails and also see how we can that we think about those things. And Another point that I think is also slowly growing a little bit, and I'm trying to help also give some help there for getting some of the German scriptorium parts into English. There are two parts to this. One of them is that it's pretty hard to translate the Dark Eye if you don't, because there's so many special terms in there that have been established for such a long time and in so many different places. So the work on a glossary is something that we started a while ago to make basically our translation work more consistent. But we had some snags that we hit with that, and we are in the next months we will look into seeing if most likely from the German community, because we need someone who speaks German, to go through the current books that are already published and help us rebuild our glossary where we are basically missing things in there. And we want, in the end, when we have these things together, we also want to provide it inside of the scriptorium as a tool for other people who want to take German's books or the Germans that are basically say, oh, I want to make it available for the English-speaking people to be able to use those glossary as well, to basically go through and say, okay, these are the words that we are decided on to use there. The other thing is, and that is for especially now that the Theater Night books are out, and playing online is such an important thing. There's one person that I want to talk about. This is Ingo Tag. He makes the map packs. He has released map packs for all the Theater Night adventures. Those are not official maps, no. So that I have to make that clear. It's not from us. Yeah. But I was helping him to get the English terms actually for that. But at the moment there are only two to release: the White Lake and the Blue Book, the Blue Tome. And then it's but the third one is very the Black Forest is very close to being released, and then the other ones should follow afterwards, because now he has all the terms that he basically need to change in his maps to release those. Those should be very helpful for you running those games also online, and have basically floor plans for every location. They have village plans for every of the villages that you're going through. And I think in the end, I had to look through and create for about 300 or 400 things that are basically had already been translated, but some of them had not, and basically put this all together and gave him these things so he could the play experience with Theater Nights could be improved a lot. Theater Nights is not an easy campaign to play. That is one of the things that we also got feedback on from some people, and that is definitely not something that you just take out the book and start playing. It is. There's a lot of cross-referencing in each of the books. There's a lot of within the books. There's a lot of things that are going in there that you really need to understand and wrap your head around what is happening here. What are the different factions want to do in these specific things, and then take what your group does in there and see what does make the most sense. Where are they going through this adventure there? It is not an easy way, and that is one of the complaints we got about especially the Black Forest, but it's really, you really need to understand the module before you can run it, because the plane pass through. I think the groups will not decide for those things in a lot of cases. So the maps really help. They also give you an overview about where does it play anyway. When you look at the map, you have a map of basically where the adventure plays, and just an overview map, so you know which part of the Born Land actually is involved in there. So yeah. The other one that was posted in our Discord recently is the Aventurian player Species, Scales, Pelts, and Wiry Hair from Dennis Weigert. Was also a translation that he did from a German scriptorium release that he did. And then Anna Gerhardt just released recently the Aventurian Adventures. It's basically an Aventurian map where all the adventures, also the German ones in there, but the English ones, and where do they play. So you can basically look at the map and see what they are, or where the different adventures are playing. We'll also see when there are specific adventures that are not available in English yet. They will still have the German name in there, but you see what is covered or how is the coverage and where things are happening.
Nice.
So yeah, that is the current state of the Dark Eye. We hope that we are able to give you some updates in the near future of where will we focus on. Sadly, we were not able to do that before this convention in a deeper thing. So not to say anything. Okay, we're doing that. I can tell you about the beginners box. Everything has been edited. Robert Aducci actually was the editor for those parts. But yeah, we will put that into PDFs and then see how they get released, most likely together with the virtual tabletop implementation at that point. And for the next one that was also announced before at the last UlissesConOnline Con, where we talked about Aventurian Intimacy, the main book is also already translated and edited, but also that will now be delayed until we are doing that physical release. So I would, if you want to think about what might come, I would think about more smaller things like modules for VTTs that can be used for VTTs with maps and so on that we are able to implement there, and then also possibly some other books that might be helpful for those environments. So that is all still in the planning of how we are going on with this. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody has any questions for Tayo, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Let's see. Looking back here, people are just saying maps and tokens would be great. So I think that's part of what you were talking about with the theater nights. We still have to translate those German into English, even for player maps, which I know a lot of like the VTT stuff has player maps that don't have any words on them, but you still have to translate the core maps for the game master. So all of that takes time.
And it's not us directly. It's done by another player. They work somewhere and have a lot of work to do. So it's only their hobby. But that's trying to get as good experience as we're able to get there.
Yeah. Let's see. Lady Caro says we need more adventures in VTT tools as we're burning through the material. Yeah. So hopefully, we've got we've got people that's all they're focused on is getting all of our games onto virtual tabletops. So we should start seeing those. We've already got stuff for Foundry rolling out, and so we should start seeing more and more of that as the weeks go on.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that I want to get into, that we get modules and module support for virtual tabletops. That is one of the things. One thing that I'm very strongly thinking about that is also will get released in Germany pretty soon. They announced it there. Is archetypes for the different from the different books, and I'm pretty sure they will get that for VTTs. When they get it for VTT, I also want to have that for the books that are out in English, that we also get the same release basically out of that, so that we are very close to the releases there. What is happening in Germany?
Yeah, that would be great. If things could release, obviously at the same time, that would be fantastic, but I doubt that'll happen. But shortly after, that would be great too. Let's see. Lady Caro says, are you optimistic for the product, for the products after the pandemic, the product life? after the
I'm
pandemic?
I'm very optimistic when it comes to next year that the beginner's box will come as a physical product, and I also hope that we will be able to get back in a better schedule when it comes to physical releases there. And if we are able to do now some digital releases for things that we possibly didn't release yet or something like that, then this will allow us go from this digital books much faster into a physical representation from that. So if we get some, I don't want to say any names because I have no confirmed there, but if we get one of the blue books or something translated that is not yet out in English, then having that in another crowdfunding to create the physical books from that is much easier at that point. So yes, I think that there are changes happening in Ulysses Germany that will be helpful to the Dark Eye line, that will allow us to get faster through specific projects and specific parts, that they are able to do some of the editing parts, making sure that the translation didn't change rules or something like that, which a German speaker with good English knowledge can do. And that was there are some people who should help in the future for that. So that is my hope. You always have to know the Dark Eye is a very important line for the Ulysses. Naturally, in Germany, it is one of their main lines. And also for the English market. And there's we want to bring this further, but currently when you look at our crowdfundings and so on, you see that we have to find more following there. And that's one of the key things that naturally the beginner's box needs to do for us to get a lot more people interested into the game. And I think this box really has the potential to do it. But if we cannot demo it at a convention, if we cannot go through these things, then it is kind of like a waste to put it out there for us. That is really one of the key things why we need these beginner box to be really successful there, and we cannot be successful in our calculations at the moment when we are bringing it out now. That's just the truth there. So we're trying to optimize it also for the line there. But what might be coming good out of that at the moment, a lot of the things are going around. When we put out a digital project, we can also do smaller things, and we can possibly also put them out there and say, hey, okay. And we don't need to be 110% sure that this is really the end of the state, because updating a PDF is much easier than before you send something to print. You go 5 times over something before it goes into print, because you cannot change it after that anymore. If you do a PDF release and there's a stat wrong or there's a name of a stat wrong, you can change it in the second release. That is not a big problem, and that might make some of these parts also a little bit easier there.
Definitely. So in the chat here, you had mentioned something about blue books, and what do you mean by blue books?
Okay, in Germany, and the Dark Eye has different colors of the books. You have the red books, which are the rule books, and they are pretty thick and pretty hard also to translate. It takes quite a while. You have the green books, which are the regional expansions, and then you have the blue books, which are the supplements. It's basically the Armory, the Bestiary. They are 2 blue books that are out in English. There are some more books that I already said last year that we already had an unedited version of the names book. Sadly, names are very hard to edit because you need to go over those, and it takes a long time. It's really not easy. And you have all this. It's not a flowing text. You have basically one name, comma. It takes a very long time to go through that. So that one is still up there, but might not be the best solution for VTT, but there might be other ones. You can think about others. There's a German. They have released the Animal Companions. They have released the Pandemonium. And there's also an Armory 2 and a Bestiary 2. So those are things that possibly might be good for digital release, but we don't know.
Mhm.
So those are things that are basically, those are all the ones that are out. I think the newest one are the herbariums about the plants and the Dark Eye, also wonderful books. I mean, I really love them. I really love these books because they have garden setups. How does a perennial garden at a temple looks like and so on. It's really intricate things, and they really put a lot of thought into that. So these are maybe the herbarium. I cannot really say which one we would go for. We are not really bound to a release order from Germany.
Mhm.
We're more bound to what makes sense. There are specific things like the Pandemonium that require some kind of Magic 3, but we have to see where we are, how we are dealing with that. That's the nice thing also about the Dark Eye. Every book should just be able to stand alone with just the core rules in the almanac.
Mhm.
So that is. Oh yeah, I nearly forgot that. The revised core rules that I talked about so now that we have nearly everything finished for the Gods of Aventuria, and I know it took way longer. The last thing that I'm still working on was the core Vademecum that needs to be finished. So when that is done, which should be done in the next coming weeks, then I will start working on the revised core rulebook to put all the errata in there, and then this will be naturally a PDF release. And I don't know when we will do the reprint of those because we don't have hardcovers in stock anymore. Normally, we should do a reprint of those. I don't know with the printing at the moment how we do that, when we'll do that, if we do that at this point in time. It will definitely come with the next crowdfunding that those will be available in hardcover, but that will be a while. Yeah, but the PDF will be released before that.
That makes sense. Lambert asks, will the online releases, will they likely be outside of a crowdfunding?
I cannot say, but I would assume so. We have to see. I mean, a lot of people are now releasing a lot of digital stuff in crowdfundings, and it is a lot of work still in there to do the translation and the editing parts of those. So, we have to see how we are doing this. There's a lot of people involved that have the general roadmap for Ulysses. And it needs to fit because the crowdfunding is also a lot of work. So there needs to be something in also for the people to basically get excited about. And I don't know how many people get excited about a PDF, digital PDF, just to have a PDF there. The books are so nice, and I mean, from all the books that I have, from all the role-playing books, and I collect a lot of them. Don't play that many, but I collect a lot of them. But I think it's really one of the nicest books that I have that are out there. So, yeah, and that's. I don't know. I really don't know. I most likely will not know next week. Next week we're basically just figuring out which road we're going, and it will be the coming months before we have the delivery of Gods of Aventuria. We will anyway not do anything in the crowdfunding area, and that may the sea gods and the shipping stuff then be with us when we have the printed things, because that is at the moment actually for the other crowdfundings that we have running one of the major hurdles to get the stuff shipped. I mean, cannot be so hard to find a container apparently, but apparently it is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Lady Caro asks, she says, I received the last 3 theater PDFs for backer review today. How is the process different from the first 3?
I don't understand that.
So like how was the process for these last 3 PDFs and just I assume like translation, editing, all that stuff different from the first 3?
I joined the Dark Eye team, or I took over the Dark Eye beginning of 2019, beginning of 2019. I was not involved in the first 3 theater nights. That was done with the original crew. That is, the 4th one was also mostly done by those, but then I did a last pass on that. So that was still, a lot of the parts were still done from the old group of people. And then 5 and 6 where then basically they were already in a rough format. They were translated and in a rough edited format, and then we had to go through the editing process and so on. But even since those books have been edited, we already changed a lot of stuff. Now have a very good editor that helped us a lot on Gods of Futuria itself, and also on the last one on Theater Night 6. And that made the work faster on those books. The problem with the series was that they are very intricate between the different books. So I know we have already mistakes in translation and name consistency in the first 3 books. And it took us quite a while to make sure that in 4, 5, and 6, we are pretty firm around what we are doing there. I noticed while I was doing that, I actually made mistakes in Legacy of Theater Knights that came with Magic of Aventuria last year. So there were small mistakes in there, and we're trying to fix those things in the Theater Knights 4 to 6 too. So it was a lot of work was just going through to make sure, do we use the right names here? Don't we change something on something? And does it make sense how it was translated? So there was a lot of work in there. And I think that that actually changes at the moment with what we're doing with the translation for example, 3 Colors of Snow, which was recently translated, which was a pretty straightforward process and a pretty fast process also to go through those steps and get it through these parts. Yeah.
Nice. See. Yeah, no really new questions. So if you guys have any more questions for Tajo, definitely ask them here.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that I always think is what would be great is to have more heroic works out, and that is one of the things that I think the heroic works really help to play the game in a fast way and just the tiny things, and we will definitely look into that to be able to go more, to possibly have something like that for the people who play it, to get a little bit of material out, a little bit more modules, a little bit more things to play with. That's I think very helpful. I think with Gods of Aventuria, Magic of Aventuria, and the compendium, we have a basic level. I know the elves are not there, and I know the druids are not there, and the dwarves are not there yet. I really would like the elves, but I don't know when I can do Magic too. But that is a pretty big book to translate. So yeah.
What book is that? That's the
Magic 2. Magic of Aventuria 2 is basically the basic elves are in the core rules, but the real, when it goes deeper in there, it's in the Magic of Aventuria 2. And that is yeah, I would really like that, but I don't know when we will get to that.
So I think you just sort of answered Lambert's question. What was your personal wish list? So it sounds like that's kind of what you want there, and then or adventures to have. And you also answered that because you said you wanted some of those heroic works adventures, right? Or is there anything else?
The heroic works, no. I want a heroic work adventure. There are specific other adventures like. And now I forgot the name of it, the Donner Thunder Ridge or something. I really want that one because it's a very nice, concise 2-module adventure that just was released as a sick book in German. Yes, Lambert says Thunderguard. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I really want that one. I really want to go to have more of the heroic works because they're kind of small, but they give you something to go on. And in my group, myself, I really like to just plug them in somewhere. Sometimes they don't take the bait. Sometimes they take the bait, and then you have a small little thing that you can go there for 3-4 sessions and build on that. I really like that. And so these things, and they are pretty small to do. So I hope that this will be a good thing, and also they might be in a good size to implement them for VTTs. That is my hope that is something to do there. And I naturally want the Bestiary 2 and the Armory 2 because they are basically they're giving a lot of extra toys to play with and a lot of extra monsters to play with, which is always great to have. And that's just so those are my personal favorites. I mean, I love the Herbarium. I personally love to give my players the ability to do with plans and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the most of the books. I don't see us doing any digital releases for regional expansions. I'm not sure about that part. That is not on my primary list there. I mean, I would love to do Thorwell, but that's just released in German, so I don't know.
Yeah.
And I looked through them actually,
Mm-hmm.
and I found references to Magic 3 and to other things that we don't have and won't have for a while in English. So while I think it's a great thing, I'm unsure we are that we can pull that ahead. But that's basically things. I mean, I already talked about last year. The next one after Aventure and Intimacy would be Seven Wind Coast, and yes, we have that. We're working on the final translations of the final books of that part.
What was that called again?
As a Seven Wind Coast, or Coast of the Seven Winds. Sorry.
Oh, Coast of the Seven Winds. Okay.
Coast of Seven Winds, and that is something where we need to work on still, but it is still so far off. I don't know if that's something, but if you really think we need to have these regionals, and a lot of people write in after this to say, oh, we really need another region. Warring Kingdoms is not enough. We really need this also during the VTT times, just as a digital release. Maybe we will get there. I mean, that is basically also if we get enough feedback around that to basically say, okay, that's something where it would be great to go in that direction. That's something that, but it is a new situation for us to figure this out, and we want to go the digital path and see how we're going there.
Okay, so both Planar Crossroads and Andrew say we need regions.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, the regions. Andrew had previously asked, will we see more info on other races anytime soon, such as Akaz, Yeti, or Orcs?
Okay, they are not on in German, so I don't know. I cannot tell you anything about that. So I know the one thing that I mentioned earlier, the Aventurian player species, scales, pelts, and wiry hair. I think those have orcs and the Achats in them. And that's basically a German person created those as a house rule thing to play those in the Dark Eye. Okay. So this is available in Scriptorium. I have not looked into it, so I cannot tell you what the quality about is and so on. But it's they worked on that thing. I don't think for the Dark Eye in German that is anything. There's nothing announced in that direction. So yeah, it will not come to English before it's out in German.
Yeah. Lambert says Havina plus cats equals win. Has there been any talk about that?
I think I talked about it during UlissesConOnline Con. I have nothing to announce at this point. So yes, we like Havina and cats, and I'm unsure what I said at Online Con, so I don't want to say anything really at this point. We're working on it. Let's say it like that. But it is still a while out before we can do any announcements around that.
Lady Carol asks, any plans for English novels? The Starless Sky book was a great read.
I would love to. I would really. The books are. I read through. I'm reading some of them of the German books, and I would love to. But the reality is, I doubt it. The costs for doing translations and the amount of sales we can do from them is way too small for such hefty amount of word books that it's just not, we will not be able to do that. It is very sad because there are a lot of great books, also the new books that are coming out, the Thorwell books and so on. They are really great. Maybe at some point, but I don't. It is really not. It is really not in our in the capacity at this time to do anything in that direction.
Yeah. Let's see. So you mentioned the adventures and things like that. What am I trying to say here? Like currently there are several of the heroics works out, so there's a good number of adventures, but yeah, we could definitely use definitely more of those. Are any of those kind of linked together, or are they all sort of separate?
They are all separate. So the heroic works, the idea about is also to have these little. In Germany, they are released, I think, bi-monthly or quarterly. Bi-monthly or quarterly, I'm not sure. It comes together with the if you do have a subscription to the Aventurian Herald, you get the Aventurian Herald together with one of these short adventures, and they are places to try out things. They are places for new authors who want to get into writing adventures for the Dark Eye in Germany, to basically try out on a small scale some of their ideas, and they are specifically tied to very small areas. Sometimes they are tied to a larger thing, like we have with the Thorwald drum, which is referenced inside of the Theater Knights. So that is a heroic work that is clear. Then we have Turnip Harvest, which is also already released in English, which is playing around the Theater Knights. Doesn't have directly to do with it, but plays during the same time and have some themes of it in there. And then you have Three Colors of Snow, that is kind of this further away than the other two from the campaign, but it's still in the same area. Or One Goblin More or Less, which is just in the same city, but doesn't have anything really to do with the Theater Knights itself. So, but there is nothing really that ties multiple of those together. It's more like this one shots put a spotlight in a specific area on a specific thing of a specific funny thing. Sometimes they are tied to other things that, for example, there's one that is actually homage at the original, the Dark Eye 1, and it's actually written in the rules of the Dark Eye 1, because in Germany they re-released the base boxes from the original Dark Eye, and they had a work around that. So that's something, for example, that we cannot really translate into English because we don't have the rule books and so on in English for the Dark Eye 1. Or there's another one that actually came out together with the beginner's box that is tying towards the beginner's box. So it's not tying to another heroic work, but it's tied to that specific thing that is playing in the same area, playing with the same characters. And that is it's always some very specific things that are just one shots, very good one shots that are. Sometimes they are, and they're very different. Every one of those has a very different feel to each, and it's they try out interesting setups also inside of those.
Cool. So let's see. You're talking about translating. Lady Caro says they played that in the first edition in French in the 80s. That eventually you were talking about. But if folks want to play, so I'm not sure how many folks in chat have played the Dark Eye, but even if you have played it, you can go check out right now at startplaying.games/Ulysses. We are having some folks run some games, both the Dark Eye, Torg, and Fading Suns, all this weekend. There, like tomorrow morning, it looks like there's still there's a couple seats left in the Slavers of the Realmwood, which is like the introductory adventure that we have for the quick start, and then there's more in the afternoon and into Sunday as well. So if you want to play, even if you're experienced, feel free to join these games and help some folks out. I know a lot of the game masters are new, so I'm sure they would appreciate the help. And then, of course, any new players, it's always nice to sort of help new players as they're trying to play the games, too. So if you haven't played and you want to try something out, all these games are free. If you have played and you want to help people that, you want to get more people into this hobby, into these games, definitely join those as well.
Yeah. So
I think that's about going to do it for us. Any last-minute questions? We'll give just a minute more for any last-minute questions. Otherwise, Tajo, do you have time to kind of hang out in the Discord after this for a few minutes too?
Yeah, I will be in the Discord chat, and can answer things there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I hope that we will have very successful next releases, however we will do them.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that you really like the things that we are doing in the VTT area, because I think for myself, playing with Foundry, so cool. And also the rule set that was built there for the Daka is just working so well. Also as a game master, I really like what is done there. So I'm very excited to do more things in that area. And yeah, and we're trying to look into making a lot more in the digital space there.
Nice, nice. So go check out our Discord in the Dark Eye English channel, and you can talk to Tayo there, ask him some more questions as they come to you. And then in 15 minutes, we're gonna talk about more myth. So if you were here earlier, Eric and I kind of talked about Myth Dawn of Heroes. This next panel is gonna be about myth lore. So it's just gonna be about lore across Dawn of Heroes and Tales of Legend. And then an hour after that, at 8 o'clock Pacific time, we're going to have a Myth Tales of Legend, so the RPG talk with Ross and one of the new writers, Michael. I'm going to butcher his name now. I can't remember. Michael. So we will be back in about 15 minutes. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Tayo.
Thank you.